All right, everyone. As the government shutdown plows on, Donald Trump is eyeing cutting hundreds more jobs in the Department of Education. I support this fully. I believe in abolishing the Department of Education entirely. When you say this, a lot of confused people that don't understand linguistics and sloganeering believe that that means that you don't want people to be educated. So I want kids to be dumb. I don't want them to be able to answer 2 plus 2. These days, in public schools, they're being told that the answer might be 5. That's the whole problem. People don't understand their linguistics enough. Think of the term, for example, for the liberals out there, you probably, when you hear the term Patriot Act, you probably say, oh, that was basically a monstrosity. It was censoring people, throttling radio broadcasts, propaganda of various kinds, attempts to spy on people's library records, stuff like that. Warmongering bullshit and a bunch of authoritarianism. But think about the terminology used. Patriot Act. Well, it sounds patriotic now, doesn't it? If you don't support it, you want kids to die. You want terrorists to blow up more buildings. It's nothing more than sloganeering. The label oftentimes within language, does not comport to the actual meaning. I've spoken of that as well. Over time, linguistics change. So when Gen Z is using the term mustard in terms of mustard, two different words, they sound the same according to my accent anyway. When that becomes a thing, you're not talking about the condiment, so to speak. And this happens throughout time. Again, bully means something different now than it did in 1910. So language fluctuates. When governments attempt to flux language, usually it's to fool you. So the Department of Education is a great example. You would think, of course, if you are not thinking critically, well, I mean, if without the Department of Education, there's not going to be any schools or anything. Kids are just going to be dumb as a box of rocks. I mean, a lot of them still are now. Most adults are as well too. But they're going to be even dumber. We're going to regress into being Neanderthals or something. But the fact is that the bureau that's called the Department of Education doesn't really have any central role in education other than dumbing down testing standards and things like that. It doesn't do its job. It's no good. It's not helping anyone. So why the fuck is it there? This happens with a bunch of government bureaus. Yeah, just look at the Environmental Protection Agency, for example. Well, you'd think without the Environmental Protection Agency, we're all going to be breathing a bunch of smog. And we're all going to die. The water will all be polluted. Despite the fact that Congress has already acted over and over and over again in the absence of that bureau, of its own accord in a legislative sense, to pass continuous legislation with regards to environmental issues. The EPA does not plant trees. The EPA does not clean up trash. Local and state initiatives are mainly responsible for all of those things. Hell, under the 10th, state laws compensate for any lack as far as environmental protections at all anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. Fact is, it's not really about environmental protection. It's more like give me a fucking paycheck and I'll shuffle papers around on this desk and protect, which were made by trees, by the way, that we killed, and then things will magically be hunky-dory. They'll get better. That's basically what the EPA does. Food and Drug Administration. Sounds good, right? Everyone wants to have healthy food. Everyone would like to have safe medicine, correct? The problem is that the FDA has never really delivered on this. Just look at the food pyramid. I love going back to that example because it's so goddamn ludicrous. Kids, if you want to grow up healthy and strong, you should eat an entire loaf of Wonder Bread every single day. The company that makes it assures us that it's a good idea. It's fortified with like minerals or some shit. Just eat the fucking shit. Put a little jelly on it, get some sugar up in you, use some fluff. That's what they do. Bureaus are often grievously mislabeled to represent something that they don't actually stand for. Again, there's a difference between the ideology that a person has and the actions that they take in regards to that ideology and what they label themselves. Person labels themselves a communist, but they want a heavy-handed state-run system, centralization, etc. Well, they're a communist by the nouveau standard, but they're not a puristic Marxist. They wouldn't have gotten along with Karl Marx. He would scratch his head and say, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. He was a dipwad too, but the system was different than the one that actually got labeled communism. It's the no true communist fallacy. So the no true Scotsman. You probably heard that. There's no such thing as a Scotsman. They can't possibly exist. Because it entirely depends on what you define as a Scot. The same is true with a lot of sloganeering within government. The Department of Education doesn't control education anyway. All it does is regulate. It's just a bunch of red tape and stupid shit that clearly hasn't worked because after its inception, somehow, by the way, we had close to the number one attainment in the world in most educational standards right before the Department of Education was established. Now we're usually around, it kind of depends on the subject. As far as literacy, we're generally doing okay. It's not as good as we should be doing. Personally, I like books. Well, I've written several dozen of them. Uh, on math, though, on math and science especially, we're backsliding pretty badly. This is despite the fact that the Department of Education has effectively been supposedly ruling the roost for decades. In that time, our attainment has not risen, it has fallen. Why are we paying these people? Why does the agency exist? What, just because you need federal oversight for state standards? The state standards are usually higher than the federal standards. What's the fucking point of it? So yeah, environmental protection that doesn't protect the environment. It reminds me of that one Ozzy song there. Ozzy Osbourne, rest in peace, by the way. It's like the Ministry of Grace that doesn't forgive and stuff like that. I can't remember that. I think wasn't that Breaking All the Rules? Believe so. I'm 100% sure. Ozzy's got some good shit. The idea is all of these agencies are incepted, but it's like, the Bureau of Freedom wants to enslave you. The Bureau of Religion wants to turn you into an atheist. The Bureau of Self-Help wants you to harm yourself and stuff like that. This is the way that government works, and they screw around with your mind by mislabeling things. It's sort of like we need labeling laws. You know how you have to have labels on cans and stuff like that showing like here's the calories, there's the vitamins, here's how much sugar you just ate, fat ass, stuff like that. We need labeling laws for government policies. I mean, to slow this way down. I thought it was funny that they were saying that Trump needed to slow down the other day at the King's rallies. I'm not even 100% fucking sure what they're even talking about. Yeah, all right. We don't have a problem with his individual policies. You just need to take it easy. I don't get it. I literally don't get how people are fooled by sloganeering so much. It's a really big problem. Once you wake up to the use of propaganda, slogans, symbols, because of course humans also are gestural in nature. We inherited that from our ape-like ancestors. We're very gestural as well. Once you begin understanding just how screwed up all of these things are, how it ties in with advertising, it ties in with government, it ties in with military endeavors, diplomacy, literally everything, even religion. Uh, it's an enlightening experience, but it's one that's also discomforting because most people are not awake to it. And it becomes very frustrating. So, yeah, wake yourself up if you can. Just prepare to be a little bit disappointed in the human race at times. Just saying. That's about all. Peace out.